Okay, there we go. Well, welcome to the April 3rd, 2023 meeting of the Yarmouth Board of Health. I'm Hillard Bosky, one of the board members, and just have you be aware this is a hybrid meeting, which means that people could obviously be in the audience here, or they could be at their home or wherever and can watch or participate. There are instructions on the town website how to join us. First item would be attendance. So if anyone is zooming in, appreciate if they would raise their hand. That would be helpful, as well as indicating verbally that they're here. Mary.
Present.
Okay, Eric.
Present.
Very good. Charlie. Okay, I'm still here. And Jay, are you here somewhere? Okay, Erica, are you here anywhere out there? You absolutely. Okay. First item on the agenda would be our public comment. This is a time when anyone from the public can come forward and address the Board of Health.
Nick Natello's on.
There you have someone.
We have someone with their hand up. I see that. And we have someone help us get that person.
Hello, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Well, good afternoon. This is Tom Nicanella from the very historic village of Bass River here in town. And I'm calling in tonight. Thank you for allowing me to speak in public comment. In just regards to the staff at the Board of Health at Town Hall. I was there recently, and Mr. Chairman, I just want to know that, let everybody know that the girls in the office and everyone in the back has done a tremendous job. I've been a general contractor in the state of Massachusetts for over 30 years and dealt with a lot of departments, health-wise, building-wise, and our health department and the staff is doing a remarkable job. I truly appreciate, Mr. Chairman, so you know, the online services function that we have now. Being a contractor, you have to always dig into the archives and get the files and get the facts. And the way that we can do business now is truly remarkable. It is such a welcoming experience to go online and get the public researches and search the town records. And I just want everyone to know that those services are truly wonderful, and there's more to come from what I understand in the municipality world of the online services. So I just want to say that, and thank you, Mr. Chairman, and you all folks have a good night.
Thank you for speaking up. It's rare when someone comes forward with a positive comment and just praises people, and it's well received. Thank you for speaking up and joining us tonight. Anyone else out there? I don't see any hands up. Anyone else? Okay. Second item is discussion on the Yarmouth Annual Community Cleanup Day. Apparently there's someone here from Conservation.
Mr. Chairman, Catherine Brooks from
Okay.
the Conservation Agent is here to speak about the annual cleanup day in Yarmouth. So Catherine, if you just say your name and title, that'd be great.
Hi, my name is Catherine Brooks, Conservation Agent here in Yarmouth.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm just here to share a quick message about the Yarmouth Community Cleanup Day that's coming up later this month. The cleanup day will be held on Saturday, April 22nd from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. throughout Yarmouth. All participants will check in at Town Hall between 8 and 9 a.m. before heading out to cleanup sites. If people have work gloves they want to bring, that is great, but all the materials such as garbage bags, disposable gloves, and high visibility vests will be provided. Pre-registration is encouraged through our online sign up, and details can be found on the Town of Yarmouth homepage and events calendar. There's a variety of locations to sign up for, including beaches, street sections, schools, conservation areas, and parts of the bike trail. You can also sign up to clean your neighborhood or local business. Along with other materials, a map will be handed out to each participant with showing drop-off locations for trash that is collected. This will be really helpful to DPW when they go around to pick up the bags for us. When participants finish their cleanup, they'll head back to town hall to return supplies and pick up their thank you gift. It also happens to be Earth Day, so it's a great excuse to get out and help clean the community and local environment. And that's all I have. Thank you for your time.
That's great.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Anybody, anything?
Questions?
Catherine, I just say this, these types of community efforts, it's very important as far as the environment and cleaning that up, but it brings community together and it brings people together, people that maybe even neighbors that maybe don't get to see one another. Where by April 23rd, warmer weather hopefully is coming. And there's that communal piece of working together, improving, working to the environment. And you get outside a little bit, maybe a little exercise, but it builds community. And that's what Yarmouth really is very good at, having community. So thank you for
Absolutely.
being here on this. So just so you know, just a question. So they'll do the Earth Day, they'll do the cleanup and they're leaving the bags like on the side of the street. How does that work? What's the back end look like?
Yeah, so for example, if we were to clean between Yarmouth Town Hall and up Wood Road to Station Ave, the map would have a layout of that entire section, and then people would either put X's where they dropped them, say on like a cross street, and then we would then relay that to DPW. Some longer stretches, that's a relatively short one. They might have multiple locations. So yeah,
Okay.
it ranges between the cleanup. I'll get into this a little bit, but some of the sites are a little bit longer. So if you're doing street sections, it might range from like a quarter mile to up to a mile. And so along those longer stretches, there might be a couple drop-off sites. So some of them are labeled on the map. And then of course, if you need additional pickup sites, those can be notated on the map very easily.
Okay. And it's just people that are listening, and for the board as well, are they bringing gloves? They bringing rakes? What do they have to bring?
They don't have to bring anything. I personally find that a pair of my personal work gloves fit more comfortably. So that's the only thing I would recommend. Otherwise, we will provide disposable gloves, trash bags, I think pickers as well. So all the materials will be provided. You just have to show up.
Yep, just dress for the weather. Terrific.
Exactly. And if there is a rain, if we do get rained out, the rain date will be the next day, which is Sunday, the 23rd, I believe.
One thing you may want to check just for the disposable gloves. I know some of the work gloves like have latex in it, something you may want to be aware of.
I
That's all.
believe the ones that we have at Town Hall are nitrile, so
Perfect.
we'll avoid
Great.
the allergies.
Okay.
Well, I appreciate just to come in. A beautification program is really important because soon the flowers are going to be coming up. There's a lot that Yarmouth can display, but to pick this up after the winter, obviously the things accumulate in windy and winter days. It does build up, right? It does build up after a bit. So hopefully this will help in that regard, but also bring people together. It's nice.
Yeah.
Hopefully
Exactly.
someone with a camera just to record it would be nice. All right.
Maybe.
Get some.
Yeah. Hopefully everyone will have a good time, have good weather, good company. That's all we need.
There you go. Catherine,
Okay.
thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Thanks again. Have a good
Thank you.
evening.
Appreciate it.
Okay, the third item,
Good job.
discussion wastewater project.
Bet.
There are two things here. One is Board of Health letter of support. Jay, just bring us up to date.
So-
What we had this evening.
At one of the staff meetings, DPW, Jeff Colby and others, town manager, of course, has asked for each of the boards and commissions to put a letter of support for the wastewater initiative and program that the town is putting forward at town meeting on April 24th. So there, 25th rather, the board would be appropriate. Other boards have put letters in already. And the board has also previously, I think it was December, put in a proclamation. Well, that format probably doesn't work quite as well for whether it's grants and things of that nature. So what you have in front of you is a draft of a letter of support. And I don't know if you want to read that into the record or,
Any volunteers to read?
and
Read
please,
it before our edits or suggestions.
yeah, well, But maybe just as you're reading it through, this is and it's stamped across draft. Please, the board, if this is your letter, so it has to reflect
Right.
has to reflect what you want. This is just a starting point, Mary.
I'd be happy to read it.
Thank you.
To the Board of Selectmen from the Yarmouth Board of Health, April 3rd, 2023. Subject support for the Yarmouth wastewater program. The Yarmouth Board of Health offers its unanimous support for the Town of Yarmouth Comprehensive Wastewater Management Program. Its primary mission and central responsibility of the board is to provide safeguards that ensure the public's health and the protection of the environment. The Board of Health strives to set policies and regulations that preserve Yarmouth's rich natural resources of pristine recreational water, fisheries, and shellfish habitats for future generations. And I'm sorry, I'll not read my edits. Clean, safe water for drinking and recreation are essential components of a vibrant community. Yarmouth's well-established reputation as a premier tourist destination is directly related to our abundant recreational assets. Yarmouth's comprehensive wastewater management program aligns directly with the board's core mission and plays a critical role in our shared vision and values for the future. Decades of population and economic growth on Cape Cod has resulted in increasing the nitrogen pollution that is severely jeopardizing the Cape's environment. The Department of Environmental Protection's, DEP, pending draft policy for Title V septic system regulations makes clear that the status quo for treatment of wastewater on Cape Cod is no longer acceptable. DEP's proposed regulations include mandating homeowners and businesses install costly, innovative / alternative septic systems. This individualized solution strategy is fragmented, cost prohibitive, and scientifically unproven. Given the impactful environmental benefits and smart growth opportunities, the wastewater program must be a major priority of the Town of Yarmouth to advance quality of life and economic opportunity. The Board of Health applauds the thoughtful, hard work of the administration to strategically assemble a financially prudent program for our residents that delivers a balanced, cost-effective solution, protecting our water resources and managing commercial and residential growth. The Yarmouth Board of Health enthusiastically looks forward to working cooperatively with the Board of Selectmen to achieve this ambitious objective.
Thank you for reading. Now, you said you had some,
Yes,
Yeah.
I was kind of inserting them. The
first
this-
one I saw,
Yes,
yeah.
the first one, I'd like to refer to the program by its official title, the Yarmouth Comprehensive Wastewater Management Program.
That's the first line,
That's the first
paragraph
line.
1.
Right. yes.
It's the
And then
topic.
I would go down to the second paragraph. The Board of Health strives to set policy, blah, 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 for future generations, comma, in keeping with, and go back up to its primary mission and central responsibility to provide safeguards that ensure the public's health and the protection of the environment. I think that kind of flows a little better.
I apologize. Can we just go over this? Because I'm going to be, I'll make those, go ahead. So you're starting.
After the first sentence in the first paragraph, I would go down to the second paragraph. And I'd insert that there, the Board of Health. And, keep going to the end instead of a period at the end of that sentence, a comma, in keeping with, and they'll go back up to the first paragraph and say, instead of its primary mission and central responsibility to provide safeguards that ensure the public's health and the protection of the environment.
So you're saying the second sentence of this should be the one sentence in paragraph 2.
Yes.
Have it right?
Yes, yes,
And then the third line will be the second line currently in paragraph 1.
right. Except instead of it will say, because you'll say
Right.
generations, comma, in keeping with, and then instead of a capital V, it'll say its primary mission and central responsibility to provide safeguards that.
I love Mary. You're so helpful. Do you have this written? No, that's going to be great.
Okay.
All this is very helpful.
Okay, and then again, in the third paragraph, just again, the comprehensive wastewater management program,
So it's capital, you need a capital letter, uppercase letter, right?
comprehensive capital wastewater capital. Okay. And then the fourth paragraph, the fifth line down, that it starts include mandating, and I would insert that, include mandating that homeowners and businesses.
Right.
Okay, and then the next line down, I would just add where it says scientifically unproven, I'd add as a,
Which sentence, or which line are you on for list?
after where I added that,
Okay,
the next line down,
okay,
it talks about this individualized solution strategy is fragmented, cost prohibitive, and scientifically unproven. And I would add, as a solution to the nitrification of our precious embayments.
good.
And
That's great.
then I would, the next, the two sentences down, instead of saying must be a major priority, I would say is a major priority. Because it is, I mean, it is. And then the last suggestion I have is that the last line that says selectmen to achieve this ambition, and I would put a care, I'd put but vital objective. I would add but vital.
Ambitious,
That's
ambitious, but vital,
but vital objective.
ambitious, but vital objective. All helpful. I appreciate that. And just before, did you have an adjective to describe embayments when you made the
Precious.
precious embayments? Thank you. Okay, and if you don't mind, I'm going to take your edits. I think I've captured most of them. But it's anyone else. I mean,
Yeah. Eric, Charlie. Okay. Any other possible edits here that you want to make?
I'm very disappointed in the way this is all put together. I said, we have roughly 25,000 taxpayers in the town of Yarmouth, I believe, that give or take. And you want to send out a letter to every taxpayer that we're going to threaten the hell out of them. And then we want our way. And if they don't do it, we're going to fine them. And I just don't believe that's the way to go to get people to cooperate. All this is a huge threat of finance of about $10,000 to $20,000 to start per household. And then you want, on top of that, a 30-year tax betterment. So now we're already taxing their children and grandchildren. And you want this a free ticket to ride. I'm not gonna suck in for it.
Well,
I think this is an obscene way to treat the taxpayers. It isn't we want, it's you're gonna do this. And you do that with 25,000 people, I could see some repercussions. This is a threatening letter to every taxpayer that we're gonna hammer the hell out of them for the next 30 years. Whether they like it or not.
Okay, just
No
want to,
way in hell I'm gonna go for this.
okay, I understand, absolutely, you're clear and so on. This isn't a letter to the public. This is a letter of
I don't give
support
a-
that
I
we're
don't-
writing to the Board of Selectmen. Now, you're part of this board. You need to make a decision here. Is this
I
something?
just told you, I'm in no favor of it.
Okay,
That's my decision.
that's what I hear from you. So, then the first sentence needs to change, I guess. This is not unanimous.
Right.
But the Board of Health is supporting it.
Well, we haven't had a vote yet, but
Yeah,
so we're still
but
editing. we're
Just
still
listen to
editing it.
everyone.
But if I could just take a minute to explain, because I've sat on a lot of these committees, communication and otherwise, well, actually, Mary has had much.
Just interrupt 1 second. Do you understand what I'm saying about the document? That's all, not the whole idea of wastewater. That's where we are right now, just so you're aware of it.
Oh, yeah.
Fine, good. Okay. I'm sorry,
I
Jay.
don't mean, yeah, and maybe it's not,
No, I
To
don't
say-
think it's necessary.
yeah, okay. All right. I think I'm good.
Eric, have any?
Yeah. I didn't hear anything.
I didn't have any suggestions. I just had a question, Mary. You relocated the second sentence of the first paragraph, is that correct?
On this, yes, I put the second sentence of the first paragraph, I replaced it with the first sentence of the second paragraph.
Okay, okay.
It
Yep.
just seemed to flow a little bit better for
Okay,
me.
that helps.
Is that going to create one paragraph then of the
Yes.
3 sentences? Okay.
Okay, so we're just
Yeah.
inserting that into there. Okay, that
Okay.
helps.
Thank you.
Eric, anything else, Eric?
That was it.
Okay, so Jay, what do we need to do with this at this point then?
Vote.
I
Well,
would
we
think
have to,
so.
we have to vote. We have
Right.
to, exactly. We have to have a vote
Yeah.
for this.
I move that we accept the letter to the Board of Selectmen
With
the
that,
edits?
with
with
edits.
the edits.
Yep.
Right, okay, is there a second on that?
Second,
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, so all in favor of the motion, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye, okay.
aye.
Anyone against? Okay, that's one. So this passes 3-1. This is the letter from the Board of Health to the Board of Select. And okay. Next. This is still number 3. This is all wastewater. And this is the Board of Health Connection Policy, which is a draft at this point that should be in your packet. I'm sure everyone took a look at it. And Jay, want to just make sure everyone understands what our responsibility is tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So over the past couple of weeks, well, at our last meeting, Jeff Colby was here to explain comprehensive, the whole program overall, to include the financing and the efforts, the why, the DEP regulations that are pending. And he gave a good overview. Well, what falls within, a lot of this falls within, well, the finance falls within the town administration. The DPW is really in the engineering and the oversight and that component. The Board of Health will be responsible, like you are with Title V, with compliance and the connection component of this. So that now they're connecting to a wastewater system and not putting in an individualized system as it is with Title V. So that responsibility to connect to the system will be with the Board of Health. Well, there has to be a set of regulations for that. What are the parameters? And this outlines, and it's built off several other communities. We're doing very similarly on the Cape, like communities. And again, it's a draft regulation for the board to consider. Might you want to consider this at some point? You'll have to come in with a regulation, and we'll have a public hearing. You will have a public hearing, and it will be voted as a regulation of the Board of Health. So this is a starting point for discussion built on what are past practices for like communities.
When you have a hearing, it has to be 2 of them, or will one suffice?
I'd ask that. I think one is going to be okay.
That's great.
And this, if you read the beginning part, and I don't know if you want to read this into the record, but really the authority actually comes from Mass General Law. All your authority comes from Mass General Law. So it cites that at the very beginning,
Right.
to say that this isn't Yarmouth, this has actually come from Mass General Law.
I have one comment.
Yeah.
On 2B, it says that all properties to which such notice has been mailed and to which ownership is transferred shall be required to connect to the sewer line within 90 days of transfer. On 2D, we say if the last sentence, if the property is transferred during that time, the property shall be connected to the public sewer at the time of transfer. I'm wondering, shouldn't we say within 90 days again, since we're giving them 90 days in 2B?
What happens with Title V if you're with the transfer and timing wise of having a system that's meets standards? What happens with that currently?
Yeah, we give them 60 to 90 days.
Okay. So that's relevant to what you're saying.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
it just seems it should be consistent.
That seems fine to me. Eric, Charlie, Jay.
Is that okay?
Does make sense.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep,
Okay.
To be
okay.
Makes
consistent well.
sense.
Right, within 90 days, right.
So that D would then have, right,
Right.
if
you
it's
would
not
say
the time of transfer, but there would be a
Within
period of
90
time.
days
Within 90
of the
days.
time of transfer.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
And perhaps you just tell us exactly who or what is the Board of Sewer Commissioners? Who is on that?
So from some previous ordinances or past efforts from the town, there's a policy that made the Board of Selectmen the sewer commissioners. So that is in fact the sewer commissioners.
Just so the public is
And
aware
we're
of that.
happy to leave it that way.
Yes. Yeah, let's move right over that.
One thing I do want the board to understand, and perhaps you do, but perhaps the listening audience, because we get a lot of these questions. That it varies considerably. We're not able to give a definitive answer on as far as like with Title V, depending upon the site-specific conditions. So the geographic conditions, how close is the house to the street? That's going to determine the cost of this connection. Okay. What's the elevation? Is it below? Is it gravity, or is it going to have to be pumped? What's the internal plumbing? Does the septic system come out the back of the house now? It might have to be reversed internally or wrapped around the house. Are there obstructions, gas and water lines? There are a number of factors that will alter what, like with Title V, sewer connection, that will alter the cost and the expense, maybe even an engineering design. So there isn't a one size fits all on this, but the property owners need to understand that, and they'll get a sense if they've gone through Title V before what the dynamics are on this with engineering and things of that nature. So, but a house that's set way back will be a lot different than a house, as you can imagine, that's set right up to the street.
Right.
Jay, I wonder, have you anticipated the increase in manpower it's going to take for this department to go head out and
I know.
help the homeowners who are going to be hooked up?
Well, some of it's going to require some engineering,
Mhm.
but we're not there yet.
Mhm.
But it is on my mind of what that's going to look like.
Right.
And down the road, there will be some asks for additional FTE full-time equivalents to help with the influx.
Because you have septic systems all the time, but they're not huge numbers all at once.
Right.
And these might not be huge numbers, but there will be greater numbers than you're used to having at a time.
Mary, thank you for that. I appreciate you bringing that to attention. There's an ebb and a flow to that, where this is going to be an influx.
Right.
This is going to come in and some work has to be done. And actually, we're requiring that the work be done.
Right.
It's not an application in that we get the housing registrations and then we over time get to that. This has to be done with a very definitive time period. So yeah, there's a labor involved and we have to look at what that increase is going to look like. We're not there yet. And we don't want to presuppose the town's vote, but that will have to be built into operational costs.
Every one of those 3 blocks, they're hooking up. Yeah.
Right. It would be like
Good
everyone is
point.
putting a septic system in at that time. You say, oh, well, that doesn't happen here. It's
Title V,
It's- yeah.
yes, on the block, yeah.
Right.
Anyone else about this? So what's the timeline with this?
So it would be helpful if the board, because as we move closer to our April 13th question and answer period, this doesn't have to be in an approved hardened, the cement doesn't have to harden on this, but it has to be crafted in some way. It has to be sculpted in somewhat of a format where this gives good information for the residents. Doesn't have to have a public hearing, but as best we can tonight, the board would ask if the board can put this in a context that pending a public hearing, it is in a format that that the residents will be able to understand And with good information, they can make a good decision on voting.
So you're saying we do have to have a hearing on that?
We would have a hearing, not tonight. And it done not even before not even before this, but it has to just be in a structure. I checked with Jeff Colby on this. So because it's some time to come, he'd just like to have it in a format that the board has approved.
Right.
And then we would have a hearing, clearly not before the 13th and not even before town meeting, given with holidays that's coming up.
Right.
Patriots Day that's coming up, that wouldn't, but you've agreed to a format that is, you're going to proceed with.
And the 13th, explain that a little bit more.
In the 13th, up at the senior center, Eric, I don't know if you put this in our deck or not.
No.
No,
On the 13th, the town administration, along with DPW and several members of the select board, I'm sure will be there, if not all of them. There's going to be a question and answer seminar for the residents to get information of exactly that, what the connection would look like, what is the finance, why are we doing this, and explaining that the degradation, the deterioration of the environment, to explain the why we're doing this. Doing nothing is not an option, is really what DEP is telling us. And so on Thursday, April 13th at 6 o'clock, the 13th at 6 o'clock up at the senior center, there will be a wastewater question and answer session. Very similar to what our DPW commissioner gave the board at our last meeting. But additionally, it's going to open up into question for residents. I really hope people listening, I hope the board, to really get a full understanding of what this entails. A lot of work has gone into this, and with that, they'll be able to answer anyone's individual questions. The other part is to go on our website. The town website has a whole section of questions and frequently asked questions. There's very good information.
So it's the 13th.
The 13th at the Yarmouth Senior Center at 6 p.m.
Okay.
There will be a PowerPoint. We'll have handouts. Accommodations will be there for individuals so that people make a good decision when they understand something. People fear what they don't understand. We don't want anyone to go to town meeting not understanding and not being well informed on this.
so is there anything about this that is lacking?
You have someone here?
Is there somebody
Sorry,
trying to
Eric?
come on?
Yeah, you're gonna hand, sure. If you, look, someone want to speak up there or have a hand up? That's great. Comment, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Tom Nicanello again. Just a little, try to help me out. The wastewater project, I believe, being a general contractor, I follow this stuff. Very important to me to have clean water. It's broken up into 8 parts for the town, and the $207 million is only for part 1, which is the plant and the collection system on Route 28. So in regards to Board Member Holloway's comment about everybody getting charged, not everyone's going to get charged, just those people on 28 and on the side streets, the first phase, the first part, which is a 5-year project. So not everyone is going to be charged throughout the community for that $207 million. That's the commercial end. The spine of the collection system, which goes to the plant, is that number. Those people, if you take the 25,000 population and divide it by 8, 3,500 people will be paying for that $207 million, not anybody else in the community. And I think that's very important to people to know that not everyone is paying for that. If you're not in the first phase, the first part of this project, you will not be paying for it. So thank you. I just want to make that point.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that clarification. That is very helpful. Tom, just to use your words, there is no betterment assigned to someone whose property has not been improved.
Right.
And the vast majority of that, as you say, phase 1 or that spine, the large pipe that will eventually be the collection area for a good portion of future phases, is vastly commercial properties. we're gonna,
There's a whole section of town that will not be sewered at all. So they will never be,
that's right.
for the
That's right.
purposes of the current planning, they'll never be part of that expense.
That is correct. And all the maps, any of those types of questions, Tom, thank you for weighing in. I appreciate you sticking with us here and helping on this. The maps are available, all the different phases, and it's a lengthy project. It's a lengthy project and it's an expensive. For cleaning water is an expensive endeavor. And DEP has said this will get done, and not just Yarmouth. This isn't, they're not,
Statewide.
this is right across the Cape. They're saying exactly right. They're saying to everyone.
So you're telling me that 3,500 people are gonna pay for the first one for 200 plus million?
It's going to pay betterment. They're not going to pay for it. You know, Jeff showed us the pie chart with all of the sources of funding that the town has come up with so that there is no general tax increase, but there are betterment fees as well as the cost for the individual homeowner to connect.
Yeah.
So it's not paying for that 2.7 million or million. Yes.
All right, so let me get this, I'm trying to understand this. So the first phase is 200 plus million dollars for 3,500 people. By the time you get to phase 8, how many billion dollars is going to come out of the taxpayers?
They're
I-
not going to come from the taxpayers because it's not going to be, the tax rate is not going to be increased as.
I don't believe that for a second. The tax rate will be increased. This is going to create a monster.
Well, I'm going to defer a lot of these for the,
There are gonna be people that are like, that are retired on a fixed income. Couple people in the house, and they are going to, down the road, either lose their house and be homeless or be mortgaged past their death.
Well, that's why Mark Forrest came and talked
Now,
to
you
us
know,
last
we
time.
talk about, on one hand, affordable housing, and this is gonna create unaffordable housing for people that already have houses.
There are funds available to help people. The Aqua Fund that Mark Forrest came and talked to us about, which is a new fund specifically tailored to help people who are in towns where the sewer system is going in, as well as if people get caught up and have to do the IA systems in other towns that aren't able to do the sewering. So and some of the banks have special loans. So I mean, there are things that will help homeowners do this. But you're right, it's going to be an expense, and it is, we have a lot of retirees in town and they are on fixed incomes, but it's not going to be a cost that's going to hit all at once and certainly not hit everybody.
I don't believe it for a minute.
but there are some pieces, Mary said, this is not proposed, what is proposed, and you saw the pie chart at the last meeting, there's 10 individual funding sources. Not one of them is tax levy. As proposed, what will be voted on at town meeting, it's not a tax levy endeavor. It just isn't. And then the other thing, and I'm just making facts clear, is what is being presented, is that the betterment is that 15% of the total project, and the town manager does a very good job. I'm really not going to be able to even do it justice. It is impressive. And he will be there on the 13th. Bob will be there. They've got the betterment down to 15% of the project. These are just facts. You may agree or disagree. 15% of the project, which gives a betterment of a little over $500. I think it's 515, maybe 550, but $500 betterment for that first year in each year. And that struck me, that number, because what I thought was that's about the cost of pumping. What yearly individuals are doing now is they're pumping that system. I can tell you, many people are pumping more than once a year. And so that could be maybe $8,000-$9,000 in pumping, and there's still a problem. It's not a permanent solution, right? And you're looking down the road, Charlie, and I do understand that completely, but you're not going to get to project 6, 7, and 8 unless you start number 1. You can't get there. This is a well thought out financial plan. and environmentally sound. And I would really encourage you, I hope you can get there. I hope your schedule allows, and all the board and the listeners on the 13th to get to this, this question and answer, because a lot is going to be rolled out, and there's a mailer that's going out on the website. We have a number of different individuals who have come forward, whether it's the Chamber of Commerce, business community, Bass River Association, things of that nature have come forward to give information on this. So that's going to be very informative. And then, like you say, once you hear all the facts, then you can make an informed decision and an informed vote. But there on the 13th, you'll be able to hear all of that. And I would encourage you, I don't know if you go on the website, but you're welcome to come to the Board of Health office and take a look at what we have. And this isn't anything we wrote. They've hired a communication consultant for this, and it's well thought out, and it's really user friendly. It really drills down to all the questions and a good number of questions that people have asked. We have them at the office all the time, but there, without question, unmistakably, there is no tax levy dollars being used in this initiative.
And it's easy to forget, we need to do this. We need drinking water. We need to be able to use the ponds here, the waters, all kinds of recreational things. Otherwise, people are not going to be coming here for sure. And think about the economy. I mean, people are not going to go to restaurants. They're not going to be here. They're not going to support our community. It's tourism. This is what we need. And this is what we survive on for this town.
And this is what we have to do,
Yeah.
because if we don't do it, then the DEP regulations, if they're put into effect, people are going to have to put in very expensive, innovative alternative systems that are really not going to solve the problem that leads to what Hillard was saying in terms of the economic viability of our community because of the wonderful resources we have and how much people appreciate them.
Mary, you sit on the wastewater committee, so you have a lot of this information, and that's very helpful. That just saying that. And do you have a ballpark of what those alternative and innovative systems are?
15, 20, 30,000.
Oh, easily. Yeah.
Actually, the numbers are $50,000,
50,
Yeah.
okay.
$50,000 for the system, and ongoing costs of $2,500 for a contract.
And monitoring, yep.
So to your point, Charlie, it's a very, you're watching out for the taxpayer. That's not spread out over 20, 30 years. To put an IA system of $50,000 and then write a contract for $2,500 annually going forward. That's what the other, this is a binary question here. If we don't go with comprehensive wastewater, that's what, and it's not a hypothetical. Those regulations are written. They haven't been enacted yet, but they've made it clear that's what's coming towards us. So
That's from the state.
from the State Department of Environmental Protection. So for all the right reasons, now it's not just to have a good idea, but you have to be able to pay for the good idea.
So back to the regulation, is there, I've seen Chatham's and I've seen Brewster's and we covered the bases the same as they do. Is there anything else that should be on here? Is there some reason we shouldn't be able to say this looks okay tonight?
Mary, or everybody, I'm just wondering, I think some of the other regulations we looked at had like a tiered timeline that was related to the age of your existing system. Does anybody remember that? In other words, if your system was 5 years old, you had X number of years. If your system was 2 years old, you had more years.
Right.
Is that?
That's correct.
Right.
We did see that.
Yes, that was back, I think, when we did the first regulations in 2009 or something like that.
Yes.
Okay.
Or that way. Yeah.
You bring up a good point, Eric, and I'll just, to inform the board, it only gets solved if people connect.
Yeah.
Right? Letting people, let the individual, we need everyone's participation in this. That's how we solve this, because this isn't going to solve itself. And actually, it's only getting worse. So the more people commercial and otherwise, connecting. It moves,
You need
moves.
to have flow in order for
Ex-
the system to work.
Thank you, Mary. That's exactly right. Well said. So delaying that becomes problematic. It actually works against us as we need that flow. So Eric, to answer your question, that you bring up a very valid point. This is what this is what our DPW had guided us with. They thought this was reasonable for homeowners to understand.
And it does give, 2D does give allowance for people that had installed an IA system, which is, as Jay was saying, 50,000. So it's the most expensive type of system. And I know we've had a couple of them anyway come before us as a board.
Right. I'm trying to get a handle on that because I just don't have the look back longitudinal
Oh.
information. How many IA systems are in town?
I don't
I-
think there's many.
I don't
Very
know.
few.
Very
Because
few.
they were only done in the case of a very tenuous, I think, variant situation.
Right.
Okay. And those came before the board. I'm trying to get a sense.
I mean, I wouldn't have known about them except that we had them come before the board.
I'm trying to find out if we've kept those contracts. Do they have to put those contracts with us?
Mhm.
So I'm
Yeah.
trying to locate that.
They didn't come across this board, right? I mean, we haven't,
I thought we had at least one or two.
that's
that did.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
at the most.
Okay. Well, more to come on that because I want to try to locate the numbers of how many we have in town. And that $50,000 is in today's dollars.
Right, right.
And it doesn't reach the numbers that we need to, the nitrate
No.
reduction.
And it doesn't allow for treating the waste for other things that may become regulated in the future.
Good point. Yep. This is planning for the future.
My thought would be to say that this looks fine as is. I've
Um,
seen the FAQs that go along with some of the others, and I think this answers them.
Right.
So, I mean, I personally don't think I could add anything to this.
I feel the same way. I mean, we have one edit, that's it. Yeah, no. It's very well written.
So on D though, we're gonna make it consistent across 90 days.
Right.
Was that the consensus?
Within 90 days of the time of transfer, right?
Okay.
yeah.
That was it.
All right.
That was the only thing that I saw.
right. I can make that adjustment.
You propose we vote on this? Mary?
Sure, I move that we accept the Yarmouth Board of Health mandatory sewer connection regulation with the one edit as proposed at this meeting.
Anyone second it?
Sure, second.
Okay, any other discussion?
I guess I wish that there was maybe a little bit more relief for those who have just installed something and taken on that financial responsibility. It seems that no matter what, it's going to unfortunately inconvenience some number of people. I don't really have, I don't have a solution to propose. Just
So you
speaking
bring up,
my mind.
Eric, you bring up a really good point. And that's where, the public health, we work right now with individuals asking us, I'm considering putting this in. What if I pump more frequently? Might I be able to work along until this comes, until this gets installed? So those conversations happen now where maybe putting off for a little bit, maybe being very conservative with their septic system, they can get to the point, that 2 to 3 year period where actually they might, we're working towards connections. So we work with that already and have for the past year, individuals
Is-
asking this.
Is there any way that we can like get that message out there? Uh, uh, to reach as many folks as we can so that they're not put in a situation where they install a new system if they're in phase one. I mean, I'm sure everybody should know what's going on, but probably they won't, you know?
Right.
Are you saying now or when their septic system at home failed? What,
Well, I guess it would have to be before it failed, right? Because if they were in a failure situation, it might be inevitable that they take action, right?
well, that's the only time people often find out the system isn't working. And then they
Yeah.
learn they have a problem, unless someone who's pumping tells them that. I'm just trying to think this out.
Well, we have under 2C, the Board of Health shall have the authority to defer deadlines in this regulation if, in the opinion of said board, the provisions impose an extraordinary hardship on a property owner or owners. Request for deferment must be submitted in writing. So we do give that possibility, and I'm quite certain we'll have people coming.
I think we'll be busy.
I think you're right.
I think we'll
think
all
you're
be
right.
busy, yes.
Right, this board's gonna have to set some kind of standard of how to vote on all these and how what to grant and what not to, and that'll be important, but yeah, this board's gonna have to figure that out.
We've always tried to be reasonable, I think. You know, we have our regulations, but we've tried to.
But I think the first piece before, if this looks, and I guess there's been a motion, I don't know if it's been a second, but
It has, this is discussion part of it.
thank you. I don't want to presuppose the vote at town meeting either. So I think the next piece is this has to move forward at town meeting. It's been allocated, it's been moved forward. And then you can look at some, maybe some other things. But if this is in a format that you can work with, I'd like to get this in front of
Right.
as information
Understood.
to voters.
Right.
Yep.
Take a vote.
Anyone else? Discussion wise, okay. So let's vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
3. Anyone against? 1, so it's 3-1. The motion passes.
I'll make
Hey.
those adjustments. The one adjustment.
Perfect. And Jay, do you realize it's date time for coronavirus?
Okay.
Okay, just stay with us now. Okay, you're on.
Okay, thank you. Some positive news, and we're moving in the right direction. So here's our positive numbers and our active cases right now, 10. We haven't seen anything that low for quite some time. We're moving in a very positive direction, which is a great sign. And now I'm not sure why we don't have the
For the end of March.
I see. Okay, thank you, Eric. Yeah, I knew you'd have the answer. But again, as we can see, it's a month over month. It is moving down. December was an uptick, and it has quickly moved back down again, and fully anticipate we're seeing these numbers now of positive cases, 10. I'm confident that March will reflect the continuation of that decline in numbers. Here's Yarmouth moving in. We're now below 5% in positivity rate. You can see we're moving to the lower or the middle to lower portion of communities across the Cape with a positivity rate of 4.99.
What's happening in Dennis?
Yeah, could you back to that?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's happening in Dennis? 10.39%. Wow.
Now, but look at the number of cases. So sometimes it has to do with the universe that they're testing. 300. You know, how many cases are there? Like Eastham, 82 cases. 82 tests were done. Right? In Yarmouth, 561. Now, again, as we've talked about, and I reiterate,
That's
That's-
reported test. rate.
that's exactly, these are reported. Thank you, Mary. These are just reported. vast majority are being done at home.
It could have been one space that everyone was at one evening or something. and we
Exactly right.
could've Just bumped it right up. Yeah.
So fully vaccinated, our numbers just aren't moving in a positive direction in that regard. So we're still at 80% fully vaccinated. And second booster is the same. We're staying at 28%. We still advocate for that, but I think people have chosen what direction they're going with that. But the overarching message is it is dissipating. The numbers we see rapidly declining, or consistently, I should say, declining.
But there are still people dying every day, hundreds in this country.
And that is true. Yep, that is true. Here's Yarmouth in an alphabetical order. You can see across the board, and just you looking at that yellow stripe, here we are cutting it almost in half from the last, 10.54 to 499. Though that's a very positive indication for us. So the positivity rate it continues to drop. Vaccine Finder, those individuals that are listening that would still like to get a vaccine, to go on the Massachusetts website, COVID-19 vaccine availability at mass.gov. You can search and find where you're able to get a vaccine. Thank you, Erica. Cape Cod Healthcare, 27 Park Street in Hyannis. To call them 508-862-7000, and that's Monday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. for vaccinations. Local businesses, we check each week. CVS, Stop and Shop, Long Pond, and Walgreens, they've been terrific. You do have to register there. You have to schedule, but you're able to get vaccines there and would encourage you to do so. And testing sites. Now, you may have, and I think one of our previous board members talked about, or maybe you had Mary, the state has closed down their testing sites. So some of these testing sites are starting to condense and collapse. So the state doesn't have them anymore. But there is a testing site still at 25 Communication Way in Hyannis, and that can be scheduled. COVID test kits. It stayed in here, but we have given quite a few, and I can't put a number to it, and it's really a tip of the hat to Director Bruce Murphy. He was a strong advocate to make sure there were plenty of kits here, and he pallet after pallet was arriving. Well, those have been exhausted. Our inventory is gone. We don't have any more. Right.
That space in the office.
Thank you. Actually, they painted the office because they're all gone.
16 cubic feet you just gained.
Yeah, so real estate has expanded because but for the community to understand, we do not have any more kits. So you would go to your local pharmacy to look for kits. We don't have them anymore. It was a strong effort, and again, I just want to recognize Bruce Murphy for having done that. He was a strong advocate for that. And the mask advisory is in place. And again, it's a guideline. And the board did this back, I believe, if it says it on there, it might have been in June. Yeah. In June.
I'd like to see us stay below 5%, at least two more rounds before we.
Anyone else?
I know that's going to come up because we had said 5%. But
Yeah, I'm okay. You and I were talking about this before the meeting. And even if, let's say it's staying below 5%, my only concern, once again, this is advice. That's all this is. And whether or not people who are at significant risk, if they became infected, it'd probably be still a good idea in a crowded indoor space to be wearing a mask. I mean, that's my opinion. Doesn't mean the whole board feels that way, but that's something to keep in mind. The other thing on the advisory, when I looked at it last night, it really doesn't say COVID-19 on it. Doesn't specify, right? Which, yeah, this particular virus that we that this was supposed to be about.
Right.
I certainly missed it. I guess the whole board did. Um, So do we want to add that in or not? Leave it as the way it's written? No. I hadn't noticed it before.
Right. And just as a thought and maybe a suggestion to the board, bless you, Erica, it's just a precaution. Like we say, good hand washing, cough hygiene, a mask for individuals who are compromised, immunocompromised. It's just a layer of protection, not just, it is a layer of protection. And the advisory is simply saying that this is in our community and to be aware and that you might want to consider. And we do have, we don't have kits, but we have plenty of masks. So that, and we have them out on the tables.
Right.
So that is still available. But to your point, to stay below 5, to give it a little bit of time might be prudent.
Because half of the communities are above that 5, and we do go between towns and.
You can see the fluctuation. Could you just back up a little bit just so the board can make a decision here? If we go across and look, okay, this is going back to the beginning of February, what those numbers look like. We've dipped down. I hope we stay consistent, but in 1 month, it almost cut in half. Or in 2 weeks, really. Go from 10.5 to 5. So the board can decide if they want to keep that in place or adjust the mask advisory itself, the lettering or the wording. Excuse me.
Eric, Charlie? Mary? Change anything? Leave it as it is for the time being. I happen to agree with you about, let's just see what happens for another 2 weeks. Next time we look at it and make sure it's staying below 5.
That's good with me.
No, I mean, I still worry about the people that don't even have the boosters because that's what's going to keep people from getting very sick.
Or just get long COVID and
Right.
changes their entire life.
So,
And yeah, there's a bivalent booster that a lot of people have not gotten.
right, 28% have not had any booster. 28% have had a booster rather.
Okay, I don't think we need to vote on it. I think we'll keep things as they are then.
Keep it in place.
So it's new and old business. The only new business certainly is Jay had let us know ahead of time, in fact, just about the vote on extending the option for remote meetings until the end of March 2025. And that was a bill that was signed by the governor.
It was.
And that is what we're doing tonight. And so that option will continue.
Terrific.
The only other thing I have is about a next meeting, but before we get there, anything else for new or old business?
I have something I'd like the board to know. Tomorrow night at the selectmen's meeting, in this room here, Bruce Murphy is going to be honored by the Board of Selectmen for his 43 years of service. So if you'd like to attend or watch or send a message to Bruce to let him know, your congratulations and recognition and appreciation for his service here. He'll be recognized by the Board of Selectmen for 43 years of service, and that is certainly deserving of quite a bit of recognition. So we don't see that today. 43 years in one organization.
No.
Right. So just want the board to know and the community to be aware that he'll be recognized, and rightfully so, by the Board of Selectmen.
Right.
And that's all I have.
Jay and I had discussed it and we thought the next meeting could be April 24th. It's a holiday, it's Patriots Day the week before.
Right.
Anyone have any thoughts about that? Is that okay? We'll just.
Sounds good.
Okay, so that'll be the 24th then.
The night before the town meeting.
Right.
But we don't have anything we have to do before then, right?
There's nothing that is required. You have put
Right.
this regulation from a draft form. You voted for this
Right, right.
with a, with an edit,
Right, okay,
excuse me.
okay,
So no. But that 24th there'll be a public hearing on that.
okay. That will be a public hearing, okay.
Okay. And other things will come along in those 3 weeks.
Right. But at least we know. it'll be
Right.
a public hearing. Okay,
Then after, on the 24th, that evening, you go get your parking spot for the following evening over there at the meeting. Right. The town meeting. Okay, so anything else? If not, someone make a motion to adjourn, that would be good.
I move we adjourn.
second,
Second, okay, any discussion? None, I see. Okay, all in favor, raise your hand, say aye. Aye. It's
Aye.
unanimous. Meeting is over. Thank you, everyone.